Hello everybody, Infinite Shinjo here, welcome back to Let's Talk Anime, and I am here with episode 61. So it has been not as frequent that I've been recording and posting Let's Talk Anime, but to be quite simple, the basic reason is I haven't been given requests, I haven't had time to watch much anime. Recently I finished Yu Yu Hakusho, so that took up a lot of my time. So if I get around to watching stuff in my free time, or if I'm given requests, then I can do more episodes, but that's why they haven't been as frequent. Even sometimes when I'm given requests, it's hard for me to structure my time outside of work around watching requests, giving notes, so that's also a factor. But I got 2 requests for today, one of my own, so let's get started with ya boy Kongming. And for the longest time, I didn't know how to pronounce the Japanese version of the title. But fortunately, right before the first commercial break, they say the Japanese title. So I kind of like the ring of Paripe Kome, but I'm probably just going to call it Kongming just to make it easier. So this, actually all 3 of these are relatively recent shows. So it's going to be interesting to rank these or discuss them in general, because I know of the concept, but I didn't know specifically about it. So starting in with the stuff that I like, first of all, the premise is just really clever. It's a twist on isekai where you got Kongming, who I don't even know if he's actually an official famous person back in Japanese history. I don't know if it's an actual thing or if they just made it up for the show. I didn't think to actually check. From the way they're making it seems official, so I wouldn't be surprised. But you take that and just isekai him into basically Las Vegas. That's not exactly the best equivalent, but that's the best way I can explain it. It's just a concept that honestly shouldn't work as well as it does, but it does. And as well, I really like Eiko as a character as well, especially coming from somebody like me that has a YouTube channel that's on Twitter sometimes, and just trying to build up my social media presence and just learning from Eiko how to do it in the right way, how to do it in the wrong way, stuff like that. Kind of relatable. And not to even mention, this should go without saying, that the songs are just slapping. Every single one is a great song. The opening and ending are really good. The insert song that they always use, Be Crazy For Me, that's really good. Although I wish they wouldn't use it as much, because I've been through the first 3 episodes and I'm pretty sure they've used it in each episode. So that kind of gets overdone in my opinion. But like, the songs are just good in general. And as weird as this sounds, and people might agree with, they might disagree with me even saying this, the way that they show this whole concept almost gives me vibes of a battle shonen, where it's like, here's Eiko's first step, and here's her competition, and here's how she overcomes it. It's almost like a shonen. It's so bizarre. That might be why the concept works so well. The things I didn't like, even though I'm a huge fan of Kongming coming into the modern world and seeing all this stuff, how he adapts to it, the whole fish out of water trope is overdone, and they don't dwell on it, which helps. But the whole thing of Kongming just being like, I don't know what this modern thing is. What is a cell phone? What is a computer? That thing is kind of overdone, but fortunately they show that he's gradually learning how to do stuff, so it kind of helps with that sense. The only other thing that I could think that I didn't really like is Kongming and the manager constantly mentioning historical events, and just me being somebody that doesn't care for historical anime or historical stuff in general doesn't really do it for me. And they're just like complete fanboys over it. And the good parts that I can say from that, even though I'm not the biggest fan of how they do it, at least it's something that they retcon at the end of the episode with They mention at the start of the episode, and here's how they resolve it by bringing back that same thing. And they explain it simply enough for someone like me to understand. But overall, it's a really good show. Something that I thought was going to be more of a meme thing just because of how overdone the opening has been. But it's actually really good. I'm probably going to watch through the rest of the show when I get a chance. And that's not something that I do for Let's Talk Anime. But on to the next thing. And this is going to be weird because there's not as much for me to discuss. It's Spirit Chronicles. And Spirit Chronicles, I don't even know where to begin with this. So, first, normally what I do when I write out my notes, I have pros and cons, but I sometimes write additional notes that isn't either one of those two, and the only added note that I put in here is that freaking Sea Dog VA is the villain. I don't know if villain's too extreme of a term, but that's basically it. I remember seeing that Sea Dog was a character in an anime recently, and I couldn't remember which one it was. I saw he posted it on Twitter, but the fact that this is it, and I immediately recognized his voice from watching the dub, that's just kind of wild. I'm not sure if that's saying much about me, that I watch a lot of them, or just that his voice is that recognizable, but that's just super weird. And he's also a monkey in something else, which is very on brand for him. But as far as Spirit Chronicles, it's just there. I don't remember how the concept of this kid going into the isekai world comes up. I honestly can't remember much about this show. But like, he's got memories of his past life, which, like every other isekai in some way. But like, overall, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll get to the cons later. But for the pros, I like Celia. Celia's a fun character. Celia really needs to clean her house, which that definitely isn't me. I certainly can't relate to that. But Celia's just a fun character overall, although it's pretty obvious that the romance between Rio and Celia is just gonna be there. I don't understand why they feel to make a romance like this super obvious, but they do. I guess this is a good way to segue into the negatives, which now I'll start with the ones that I wrote down. The plot's just like a lot of other isekai. There's not really a lot to differentiate it. I'm sure there's an isekai out there somewhere where the main character gets transported and he has memories of his past life. I'm sure an isekai like that exists in some way. And the obvious romance, like I mentioned, it's just super obvious. I don't know why they have to do it, but they do. But overall, this isn't really a negative in a way. It's just that it's honestly a nothing show. It's like anything that happens in this is done in every other isekai. And I think I watched the 3 episodes. Yeah, because Rio had to face off against that guy that tortured him in the first episode, which is a nice little callback, but like, it's just something I've seen in any other anime. It's not really doing much to stand out. And to be quite honest, the fact that I can't think of anything much to say good about it besides Celia is just the worst thing it could be. It's not good or bad necessarily, it's just kind of there. And in my opinion, that's probably worse. But we're gonna go to the other side of the spectrum. People might disagree with me on this, and go with Akebi's sailor uniform. So this show, I don't even know where to begin with this show. So let's just start with the obvious. Komichi Akebi is the main character. She is going to an all-girls school. She wants to wear a sailor uniform like her mom did. They go through some hoops in the first episode on wearing it or not wearing it or whatever. And then she gets to the school. She's wearing the sailor uniform. She makes tons of friends. It's just slice of life. Honestly, it gives me some vibes of Komi Can't Communicate with Hitori Bochi. Even though Komichi isn't really awkward in the same way those two characters are. It's just the whole concept of I go to school, I make friends. The thing that really drives home me discussing this for this episode is the art in this show is absolutely gorgeous. And probably no surprise that it's done by Cloverworks, which I know also did a hand in Spy Family as well. But like, Cloverworks went all in on this show. And for a show like this, I'll get into that later. But for a show like this, it's just kind of wild that they went all in on the character designs, on the animation, art style. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. You could take any screenshot from an episode and use it as a background. It would just be a work of art at this point. It really shouldn't look as good as it does, but it does. And on the topic of Akebi Komichi, I'm mixing the two names, it's okay. She's not a character where everybody just centers around her because she's the main character. They go out of their way to show why people like her. Mainly it's because of her eccentric personality, but I like the little arcs that she goes through on deciding what club she's going to be in, all this stuff about her image and stuff like that. But realistically, the only reason that I'm discussing this is because of the art style. The show is good. Overall, I think at the end of it, I would probably have it be somewhere middle of the road, maybe just a little bit above. The only thing that I can see as being a negative is the plot is just simple and very bare bones. There's not much going for it. Honestly, if it wasn't for the animation, if it wasn't for how it looked in the art style, I wouldn't even be discussing this right now. But yeah, I really wanted to discuss this, and I might come back to this at the end of the show if it somehow blows me away, but I'm not thinking that's likely. But that's going to be it for this episode of Let's Talk Anime. I am out of practice for this. I don't know if this is going to be longer than other episodes, shorter than other episodes. I don't know. I guess at the same time, I just write down whatever notes and just record and see what happens. But if you enjoy, hit that like button down below. If you have any recommendations for Let's Talk Anime, leave them down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the 3 shows that I discussed in this episode, and I'll see you next time. Momentai.